Hello and welcome back to another weekly What I Watched. So I think we watched about 10 this week, maybe 12, I'm not entirely sure. Let's just get cracked on with what I watched in the last week by the help of the good old Letterboxd. So if you don't have Letterboxd, what are you at? So you can see here, this is what I watched, the dates I watched, and I can rate my movies. This is really useful for, I should say, Kermit's Ghost, not a sponsor. It's really useful for me personally, who forgets a lot of what I watch. I just have to look up here, oh yes, I've seen it, I rated it that much. So thoroughly recommend Letterboxd to anyone that doesn't have it. And what's also cool is you can like set stats, you can sort of filter it as to what your favourite movie of the year was, the highest rated, the lowest rated, which is really awesome when you want to do your top 10 at the end of the year or something like that. So Letterboxd for the win, guys. So let's get cracked on with what I watched in the last week, starting with the 1st of August, a little Spanish, I believe, movie called Live is Life. So, summer 1985, as every year, Rodri travels from Catalonia to Galicia and is reunited with his 4 friends. As real-world problems begin to undermine their friendship, the 5 of them embark on a nighttime adventure in search of a mythical object. Okay. So it's not as sort of like far out there as it seems. This very much wants to be Stand By Me. There's so many things taken from it. It's a tale of these boys who even wear the same clothes as we have in Stand By Me. You can see which lad is meant to be which character. It's very much aiming for that. There's even them walking on a railway line. They are going on an adventure to find something specific. One of them is quite ill. One of their fathers is very ill and they think this object may help them. So it's basically just a coming of age story of these boys and their friendship and their relationship, and there's even people that chase them, like older bad guys, like we have in Stand By Me with Kiefer Sutherland's gang. Very much wants to be, doesn't quite capture the mood of Stand By Me. It was an interesting little watch, it was perfectly nice. I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. It just didn't capture that essence that it was going for. But you could watch much worse. Okay, so Men. This is one that is very divisive. A lot of people I know watched it, loved it, and a lot of people I know watched it, appreciated the talent that it took to make it, but didn't really enjoy it. They said it wasn't a film they felt they could enjoy. So, I have seen reviews which said the least you know about this, the better, which I completely understand. This stars Jessie Buckley and Rory Kinnear. We cover, what's the character name, Lisa? Harper's story. She has had a personal tragedy. She books herself a little break in a country house in the middle of nowhere to try and get her thoughts together, to try to come to terms with what's happened in her life. And this movie has her encounter numerous different men. It's very much a story that's told in a way that these men are representations of different things in her life. I don't want to say any more than that. I was expecting it to be really disturbing from what I'd heard. And other than some imagery, which is very weird near the end of the movie, it's a very normal drama. It was quite interesting, it was very well acted. The special effects that were required for the scene that is a bit odd are fantastic, are absolute. If you like body horror, you're going to absolutely love that scene. I would say yes, watch it. I would recommend it. I wouldn't watch it in front of your parents. If you don't have a very open-minded other half, I wouldn't watch it in front of anyone where you would have a tendency to feel uncomfortable when you're watching things that are a bit weird. That's the only way I will put it. I think I gave it a 3 out of 5. Yes, 3 out of 5. I would recommend. I don't think it's groundbreaking, like has been said, but I do think it's worth a watch, and it does have some very interesting concepts in there. So that was Men. On the 4th, now if we're talking disturbing, we're talking this. This was disturbing. So this covers, it's a documentary about Woodstock 1999. Now we all know the original, was it 1969 was the original Woodstock, and they're trying to recreate that, and the people that try to recreate it, it's just a money-making enterprise for them. This covers, it's real footage, interviews of people that were involved, interviews of people that attended, musicians that played. We have Korn, we have Limp Bizkit, Sheryl Crow, just different people that played at this Woodstock 99. and how it all went wrong. And it all went wrong in a massive way. Some of the stuff that happened is really, really shocking. Some of the mob mentality that happened, things that people done, things that happened to women there, which it's just repugnant, it's disgusting. It made me really angry. It just made me seethe. It was horrible. And I done a bit of reading afterwards, and some of the experiences that women say that they had at this gig, at this open air festival, is terrifying. I'm not going to say any more. But if you can watch a documentary, if you enjoy a documentary, this is a shocking one, guys. It's on Netflix, I believe, at the moment. Woodstock 99, Peace, Love and Rage. And Fred Durst didn't do very much to help the situation, might I add. And on the same evening, I watched Wedding Season. Now, full disclosure, this is not my kind of movie. It's a romantic comedy. So this movie follows two Indian Americans of a certain age, kind of, what, maybe late 20s, who are having a lot of pressure from their respective parents to tie the knot, to find a man, to find a girl. The girl is very happy in her career, she's very successful. The man is just not particularly bothered or interested, he's quite happy going on his own way. They both agree to a date for particular reasons, to pacify their parents, to get them to shut up. They meet, they don't really like one another, to be honest. It's quite a sarcastic meeting, it's quite a short one, but invariably they do come across each other again. They have an agreement where they're going to go to all these weddings that's planned for over the summer. I think there are maybe 14. They plan to pretend that they're in a relationship so that they can get through this season. I'm sure there was a movie that did exactly this, and I can't remember the name of it. I think it may have been called The Wedding Date, and exactly the same premise. So this is the same premise, set in the background of all the pressure that a lot of young Indian people get from their parents to get married, to give them children, all that stuff. Perfectly, you know, okay if you like that kind of thing. Believable characters. 2.5 I gave it. Obviously extremely predictable. We all know where this is going. It was just okay. Why did I watch it? Who knows? I just did. On the 5th, I watched Prey. Now, this is one that a lot of people have been talking about very positively. It's obviously the prequel to Predator. Now, full disclosure, I have not seen all the Predator movies. I think I saw the original a lot of years ago. So long ago that I don't remember it. I have very strong memories of hands that looked like rubber gloves that didn't bend, pressing something on his arm. I'm not a big fan of the franchise, just let's put it that way. I haven't seen the more up-to-date ones, but this was getting so much positivity I had to check it out, and I'm glad I did. So this follows Naru, so 1719. This is set like I think 300 years in the past, and this is like the first appearance of the Predator. This young girl is part of the Comanche tribe, not taken very seriously by her male counterparts, wants to be taken seriously as a hunter. Her brother is quite encouraging, but the rest of them not so much. Acting in this is fantastic. Who have we got? Amber Midthunder. Really, really liked her performance. Obviously being female, loved the sort of female empowerment in this. She is kick-ass. She's just fantastic as a character. Special effects I really enjoyed. A couple of bits of CGI, they're a little bit ropey, but not enough to take you out of the enjoyment of the movie. It's very tense. The design of the Predator is fantastic. He is a real threat in this movie. There is a lot of death and destruction in here. It was really, really entertaining. I really enjoyed it. I would thoroughly recommend anyone, even if you're not a big fan of that kind of movie, give this a chance. It actually has made me think, should I go back and rewatch the original? But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed Prey, and I give that one a 3.5 out of 5. On to, there's 4 movies that day. My son was at his friend's house. It was a Saturday, I believe, and I spent all day watching movies. How lazy of me. So, this is just a little short. This probably doesn't even open. So I can't resist things like this. So this is a 57-minute documentary on Netflix, For the Love of God. So this is about a guy, Alan John Miller, who not only believes he's Jesus, he said he definitely is Jesus. It's not a case that he thinks he is, he is. He calls his spiritual movement the Divine Truth. So this follows a man that interviews this gentleman and his wife, who says she is the reincarnation of Mary Magdalene. So not only are they both in Australia, that's quite convenient, they have both met one another in the ever-expanding, sprawling universe. So we have Mary Magdalene and Jesus. And this guy is talking to them now. I have to say, this guy comes across as extremely likeable, very learned, very intelligent, knows his stuff, from studying a lot of years in Catholic school. I know my Bible quite thoroughly. And this guy knows his stuff, but a lot of people mistake knowing your stuff for proof that he must be telling the truth. But he knows this and he knows that. Yeah, but if you've studied it, you would know this and you would know that. But he is very believable. I'm not saying I believe him for a second, but he's very charismatic and you can very much see why people believe him. You can see, even the documentary maker at the end said, even though he doesn't believe this guy is Jesus, he does believe that this guy, his intentions are good. He's not trying to make money from people. He is very caring, very kind, very loving. He doesn't entirely know what his, aim is with this, but he doesn't feel that he is doing anyone any harm. It was interesting. I just like to see these things about different religions, about people's beliefs. I'm very open to watching anything like that. But this guy, he doesn't come across as a crackpot. He doesn't come across as if he's mad, as if he's stupid, as if he's deluded. But obviously I don't believe he's Jesus. But yeah, it was very interesting. It's worth a watch if you're interested in theology and all that kind of thing. So that was For the Love of God. I give it a 2 out of 5. So on the same day, I think this is another Netflix. I know a lot of the time I forget to tell you guys where I watch these. Generally, I watch anything that I talk to you about either on Netflix, on Amazon Prime, on Disney Plus. I have a VPN where I get free trials of things like Hulu, Apple TV. I have free Apple TV from when I last got my phone. Google. Sometimes you can rent some of these things on YouTube if they're older movies. Sometimes my dad has a massive collection, so I'll borrow some off my dad. I try to remember, but I don't always, guys. So, Neil in a Time Stack. I do believe this was Netflix. So, love is drawn in the form of a circle. A devoted husband will stop at nothing to save his marriage, when it's destroyed by a time-travelling rival. This is quite interesting. So it stars Leslie Odom Jr. and Frida Pinto. And a lot of, actually, she's not the main actress, Cynthia Erivo, Orlando Bloom. So that's the main actors. So this guy is very happy in his marriage. He's married to the perfect woman. They're very happy, but in their world, for some reason, time shifts keep happening. It's just this weird thing, like this weird natural phenomenon, like an earthquake, like lightning. Sometimes it happens and it rejigs things, and most of the time things are okay and there's very little change, but sometimes there is a real time shift where you find yourself in someone else's life. Not someone else's life, but a life that's not the one you recognize for yourself. You're not married to the person that you should be with. You don't live where you should live. You don't do the job that you know that you do. It's almost like if there were alternate realities, this is the other alternative reality for you if you maybe made a different choice in life. So this happens and this guy finds himself in a completely different life. And this movie is him trying to get back to the old life, trying to find his wife, trying to get them together. You have memory of your previous life for a short period of time, but very short, maybe an hour, and then everything goes, then you're completely lost. Some people choose to pay a company to save memories in case of this happening, which this guy does. And unfortunately, they're all corrupted. Everything goes wrong, but this is his struggle to find his love and to reunite them and to overcome the obstacles. So, what did I give it out of 10? Out of 3.5 out of 5. I enjoyed it. I thought it was refreshingly different. Let me go back in so I see if anyone else had watched that one. How incredibly rude of me. No one else has watched it. There's Sin wants to see it and hasn't. Interesting, different. I liked how it was done. It wasn't very sci-fi-ish. It was more of a relationship drama with very slight sci-fi undertones, but very slight. It's mostly just a character study of the people, their relationship, jealousy, ownership, just all kinds of emotions. I enjoyed it. I thought it was well worth a watch. It was refreshingly different, I have to say. Okay, so on that same afternoon, I watched DC League of Super Pets. So I actually recorded a come with me when we went to see this, but I haven't actually even edited it yet. I need to get to that. So yeah, this is a movie about Superman and his dog, who, it didn't even occur to me whose nose and head is the same shape as the Superman logo. My son said, "Oh, have you not?" And I'm like, no, I didn't notice. So this follows Superman and his dog. He is getting closer to Lois Lane. His dog is getting very jealous of him, feeling like he's going to be replaced. There is something horrible that happens by means of a villain, and it's up to this dog and some friends of his who call themselves the League of Super Pets to try and save Superman and some of his quite famous friends. So this is really fun. It's really light-hearted, it's really funny. We get to see superheroes that we very much recognise in a different way. Every pet that we have in this, we have dogs, we have a turtle, who was my favourite, we have a pig, we have a squirrel, and guinea pigs. I really enjoyed it. I would thoroughly recommend it. I love animations. I go to see these things because I do have a son. But I have to say, before I had kids, I went to see animations. I saw Toy Story at the cinema. That's how old I am. I love an animation. I think they're amongst some of the best things you can watch, and I would thoroughly recommend this for adults and children alike. Big thumbs up. 3.5 out of 5. Okay, on the 6th, I watched Gone in the Night. This is Winona Ryder's new movie. She's in this with Dermot Mulroney, who looks so much better with grey hair. Why do men age so well compared to women? Dermot Mulroney, John Gallagher Jr., Brianne, is it Chew? Owen Teague, not entirely sure of pronunciation there. So, this follows Winona Ryder's character Kath and her partner, I should have checked the names, Max, who go together to a cabin in the middle of nowhere to have a little bit of a break. But when they get there, they discover that the cabin is already been rented out to someone else. There's another young couple there. It's been a very long drive, it's very dark, she's very tired, he doesn't drive. They make an agreement with the people in the cabin that they can stay the night and then obviously leave the next day, find out what the confusion was. But this evening, Max disappears. When Kath wakes up in the morning, Max is nowhere to be found. And this movie is, in part, her trying to put it behind her and say, oh, this guy, I've been wasting my time. She's considerably older than him. And another part, meeting Dermot Mulroney's character, having a bit of a crush on him, and in turn trying to find out what happened to Max. One half of her brain is saying, don't worry about him, he's not worth it, he's gone off, he's deserted you. The other half sort of finds little snippets of things that don't seem quite right, and it takes you down a really weird situation as to what has actually happened to him. It's crazy. I didn't see it coming for quite some time. I did kind of know where we were going at a certain point, but it was crazy. It was different. I liked the movie. I wouldn't say I loved it. I think, yeah, I gave it a 2.5. I love Winona Ryder as an actress. I do love to watch her. Everyone else in this is really good. The characters are good. The acting is good. Cinematography is beautiful. There's nothing wrong with this other than it was a bit beyond the reach of believability. We prattle along for the entire movie and everything's very normal, and then it's just like, wow, batshit crazy. It's just madness. So yeah, I would say check it out if you're a big Winona Ryder fan. It's not amazing, but it's definitely worth checking out. On the 6th, oh dear me. Right, what do I say? So I'd actually wanted to see this for quite some time. I love Kevin Bacon. The reviews I'd seen of this have been scathing. Sean from Lost in the Real reviewed this. Spooky Astronauts watched this. And they're two people whose opinion I very much trust on movies. I went into this knowing I was probably not going to like it, but you know when everyone says this is really bad, that you want to see how bad it is for yourself? Well, So this covers a gay conversion camp and a group of young people who have been sent there for one reason or another. Now that's horrific enough in itself, gay conversion camp. Kevin Bacon plays the camp leader. All of these young individuals. Now I have to say, I'm not, qualified to say if these people were accurate characters, and it would be offensive for me to try and suggest that I would know if these were authentic characters. I found myself warming to most of the characters in this. I did like the characters. A lot of people say the acting in this is terrible. I didn't feel that. I thought the representations, a couple are a bit stereotypical, a bit, oh dear. But a couple are really, really interesting characters in this. When they get there, Kevin Bacon seems to be really caring, really decent. Not what they expected. He's not expecting them to not be who they are, but he says he wants them to be able to find their truth when they're there. And then people start dying. It's basically marketed as a camp slasher, I suppose. It's not. People do die in this, but it takes a long time for this to happen. Not an awful lot is shown. It's very predictable who it is that's doing it. Okay, my screen recorder switched off while I was talking to you, so apologies if it goes blank for a bit at the side. There is one scene in this, and Sean referred to it, and it is just as toe-curlingly awful as he says it is. They break into song, they sing Pink. Is the song called Perfect? Oh, it's awful. I love Pink, don't get me wrong, I really like her, but they broke into song and sung Perfect, and just the whole setting and scene of it was terrible. These characters deserved a better movie. Kevin Bacon should not have been in this. He shouldn't have given his name to this. It's really disappointing. Something that had the potential to be quite good ended up being extremely disappointing. I would say watch it so you can see for yourself. A lot of people are saying that individuals on IMDb are rating it low because of the subject matter, people that are just Neanderthals. I don't believe that's the case, because any of the reviews that I read had valid points and did seem to have watched it. It is just that bad, and it deserved to be a good movie. It could have been really groundbreaking and just interesting and fun, but it's not. So I think I gave it a 1.5. Yeah, 1.5. I gave it that because I did like a lot of the characters, but the storyline was terrible. So on the same day, right, you thought that was bad? Jesus Christ. Right, what I've said about this is, as a comedy, this deserves a much higher rating than 1 star. Sadly, this is not a comedy, rather a gory horror. It's been some time since I laughed this much at a movie. Okay, so Aaron from Screen Stars reviewed this, and he used the expression a Saw. Anybody that likes Saw or Hostel. Now, oddly, I don't really like the Hostel movies. I adore the Saw movies, because even though people say torture porn, but to me the Saw movies are a little bit more clever in that there's reasoning for what's going on. There's a lot of thought gone into traps, of being ingenious, of being different. Hostel's just someone being tortured, just generally for no reason. So I do like Saw, not a fan of Hostel. This movie, Death Count. So, strangers awaken in individual holding cells with no memory of how they arrived. They realise if they don't acquire enough likes in a timely manner, they'll die horribly at the hands of a sinister executioner. So, as it said, they all wake up, different cells, but they can talk to one another through vents in the wall. They are being streamed live. They have a box with individual tools in it, and they have to, in each round, choose a tool and then inflict an injury on themselves. Whoever gets the most likes passes through to the next round. Whoever gets the least generally is eliminated, which means dying horribly. So, sounds quite interesting for a horror fan. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's hilarious. Some of the acting in this, I'm sat weighing myself. It's so funny. It's not meant to be. It is. Michael Madsen's in this as the cop that's on the outside in a cardboard police station, or sitting in a car with his sunglasses on, and as Aaron said, with a black eye that no explanation is given to. It's like he's rocked up with this black eye and they've just said, oh, just do the film in any way, it doesn't matter, we'll not refer to it. Even when he's in the car driving, He's in the passenger seat, his cop friend is driving the car, and the one driving the car is watching the stream on his phone as he's driving, rather than the guy in the passenger seat who's doing nothing. Acting is atrocious from everybody in this. It's so bad it's funny. The gore in a few places it takes you right back to 80s gore, you know, where skin was stretchy. A lot of the gore is not believable at all. Some of it is disgusting. Aaron was eating his lunch when he watched this, and I think I know the exact point he was watching when he was eating his lunch. Some of it is really, just gross. A lot of it is unrealistic, but it's not too bad. But the acting, oh my god, there's 2 specific characters in this, and the acting is just immense. It's so funny. There's a channel called Movie Massacre, and he needs to watch this and do a funny review of it. I must remember to tell him. His channel's very much making fun out of like movies, or he just takes a funny look. It's like a comedy channel, and I think he would really dig this. This is so bad, I must tell him. I gave that 1 star for the laugh. It was worth a laugh. So then last night, yesterday, I watched Neatrim. Backwards Martin. So this is, you can see there people have watched it below. There was a mass shooting in, does it say when, mid-90s in suburban Australia. I think it was Tasmania actually. I did watch a film a few months ago about this actual shooting, where this young man just lets loose with various guns and indiscriminately kills a lot of people and injures a lot of people. This is the story of his life up to the point of what happened. There's no gratuitous stuff in this. We don't see the actual shooting. This is his story. It's his background. It's his family dynamic. It's a relationship he formed with like an eccentric heiress. This young lad, it's said that he had an IQ of 66 and he had basically the common sense of a 11-year-old. I dispute that. No 11-year-old I know would do some of the things this... An example, he'll be in a car with someone in a passenger seat and he thinks it's really funny as they're driving to pull the wheel out of their hand so they swerve all over the road. And that's his thing, he loves to do. I don't know any 11-year-old that does that. This lad is obviously not psychologically right. He has a very bad relationship with both his parents. Although try as they might, his mum comes across as being quite nasty. I think she's at the end of her tether. I think she's tried everything. She just isn't very good at knowing what he needs. His mental health issues aren't addressed and aren't dealt with, and this shows what can happen when that happens. When someone is completely lost to the system, they don't get the help that they need, and this young man goes on to kill a lot of people. So it follows, as I say, the slow descent into a nightmare that culminates in the most heinous of acts. Now, I can see Jordan there, Movie Worm, gave it 4 out of 5. Spooky Astronauts, 4 out of 5. Who's the other one? Joshua Gold, 4 out of 5. And Sean, I think there gave it, did he give it a 2.5? Sorry guys. Yeah. I'd be more inclined to agree with Sean here. This was interesting. I love a character study, but I do feel it dragged a bit. I do feel it was quite slow. It could have went into more different aspects of him rather than just his interactions with individuals. The acting was excellent. This guy got the mannerisms and everything down perfect. It had a very, very lazy TV-like feel to it. So although from a point of view, if you're interested in the psychology of people and what makes them do certain things, then yeah, definitely check this out. I wouldn't say... I would say it could have done a lot more with the subject matter than it actually did. So 3 out of 5. If it's your cup of tea, check it out. If it doesn't appeal to you, you can probably give it a miss. And finally, last night I was so pleased. I went to bed. I thought to myself, what am I going to watch? I threw on Amazon Prime and there was 13 Lives, which has been one of my most anticipated movies of this year to watch. So this covers the young lads from the football team that were stuck in the cave in Thailand. and their rescue. Now, there was a documentary recently that I watched about exactly this, which was fabulous, absolutely fantastic, with real footage of the lads' rescue. This is a film by Ron Howard. We have Colin Farrell in there. We have Viggo Mortensen. I don't know if that's pronounced correctly. And they play two of the main English divers that go across, the experts, who the Thai Navy SEALs don't really take very seriously. They're referred to as the old men. But they're the guys, that infamous scene where one of the guys pops up and the football team are there and he's elated, he's found them. So this covers everything that happened, what they did, how difficult it was, the really unfortunate loss of life. There was one Thai Navy SEAL that didn't actually make it out. It showed us what he was doing, what happened. So sad. It's like, this story is so joyful. I remember it happening so well. I remember following it really closely. I remember being a mum to a young boy. Remember feeling, what must those parents be going through? It's hellish, knowing that their child's in there alive and might never get out, because if they didn't do what they did, which was to, obviously, if you know the story, they anaesthetised the boys and brought them out unconscious. If they didn't do that, these boys wouldn't have got out, they would have died. But it was extremely risky to do this. Well, they didn't know, they aren't able to monitor breathing, heart rate, all sorts of things. And it shows you all the difficulties that they had. Now, the fact they were anaesthetised was actually kept from the public. I've remembered that incorrectly. It's like that Mandela effect. I thought that we knew that they were being anaesthetised and brought out, but apparently we were only told that after everyone was out. I remember it incorrectly. But fantastic performances. I was quite impressed with Colin Farrell's English accent in this. A couple of instances he slipped back into his Irish accent, but on the whole I was quite impressed by the accent. And Viggo Mortensen, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, he's brilliant in this. He plays a retired firefighter, also obviously an experienced cave diver, who's just really cynical. He's like, oh, but I don't even like kids. He takes some convincing to go. But his character is fantastic. I loved him. Colin Farrell is a dad. He's much more receptive to people. He feels it much more inside. He wants to get these boys out. And they make an amazing team. And then other people come over to help out in the rescue efforts. I'll just switch this off. So you can see people's scores there. There's Dan, the Upside Down, 3.5. Austin Burke, 3.5. So 3.5's 4s. I think I gave this a 4. Yeah, I'll just switch this off. Yeah, 4 out of 5. The only thing I would say I would have liked to have seen differently is I could have easily watched a little bit more. I would like to have taken just even one of the boys and had a little bit of background about him before, so that we got to know. We do follow kind of one mum, and her child is the youngest child. It looks to be the youngest child in there. He's the child that they needed to get a special mask for his face because the other one was too big. And even this tiny mask that they get isn't small enough, and the gentleman that brings him out has to hold the mask on this little boy's face the whole way through. So we kind of do get to see her reactions and how she feels, and she's one of the ones that go to the caves when the rain starts, thinking, you know, where are they? Let's go pick them up. But we don't really get to know the boys at all. And I think it would have been really interesting to start the day in the home of this little boy, seeing him getting ready to go to football, getting a little bit of his personality, having a little bit of understanding of him before the incident happened, which we don't really get that, and I would have liked to have had that addition. But other than that, guys, it was fantastic. It was very, very realistic. Now, the guy that Colin Farrell plays, who the real diver, said it was very well done. It was very close to the truth. He said the only thing he would add is that the water, the actual real water, was completely muddy, so there was zero visibility. They couldn't see, they had to feel everything. But obviously in a movie you can't do that, because then you can't see, you're just watching muddy water. But he obviously was one of the people involved, and he said it's spot on. It was very close to what we went through, what happened. And interestingly, the two actors that I mentioned, Colin Farrell and Viggo Mortensen, they both actually wanted to train themselves. No stunt double was used for the diving scenes. They both took diving training. It was in like Olympic size like pools inside an aircraft hangar, and the cave system was all like replicated, and they both admitted that they were terrified. They didn't until the finished filming was done, and they both admitted that they'd had a bit of panic attacks themselves. Even though obviously it was very controlled conditions, they were perfectly safe. They did get a real grasp and feel of what it must have been like for those divers. So kudos to them for doing all that themselves. It must have really put them inside that character, inside what they actually went through. So that is it for the week. That's what I've been watching. This week I have played something a little bit different from Assassin's Creed, although I'm still playing Assassin's Creed, guys. There was a free, not free trial. You could play Far Cry 6 this weekend for free. So I only found this out on Saturday. I downloaded it, played it Saturday night, Sunday night for a couple of hours each night. The thing that attracted me is there's a mission which is based on Stranger Things called The Vanishing, and I thought, oh, I need to do this. Unfortunately, I just got to the point where the mission was given to me when I kind of had to, I can't monopolise the TV all night. Obviously, a certain length of time, have to put it off, normal life resumes, and I didn't get to try that bit. Now, I know the free play thing switches off today. I don't know if perhaps there's still a little bit left. I may go on and see. It was really, now I find when I am really immersed in a game, like I am in Assassin's Creed, you know the controls inside out, you know exactly what you're doing, you're used to the gameplay. Switching to something else that's quite in-depth is really difficult because you're trying to learn all the moves, you're trying to learn how to switch weapons, how to put particular like ammunition in particular weapons, how to make ammunition. There's so much involvement. If you've just got a tiny little bit of time to try it, it was difficult. I think I needed a lot more time than I had. But it did seem like, you know, like a really good game. I did enjoy what I played of it, but it's no Assassin's Creed. So yeah, I would recommend to try it. It's just a shame it's not free anymore. But really interesting concept to give people access to quite an expensive, you know, new game. And a lot of people will get completely hooked in and buy it. I think I'll give it a miss. But I know we've got another couple. I think we've got Far Cry 4 and 5. And I haven't played either of them yet, so I may get around to that. So yeah, guys, that is what has been going on this week. Nothing else of any note. So I think that's about it. In other news, I'm going to be on another live stream on the 31st of August on Playtendo Guy, Pete's channel. I have been on before, and they're lovely guys, really relaxed, really fun to do. So I'm looking forward to doing that at the end of the month. I do still know that I have my Q&A still to film, and I will do that. It probably will be either later this week or next week. I will let you know in advance before I do it. It's just finding the time to be able to squeeze it in. So thank you guys for watching. Sorry if I've waffled loads, as always. Thank you guys for watching. I hope to see you all next week for another What I Watched. Over and out from Lisa Loves.